Hello everybody, my name is Dee Dee Vergatos and I'm your host for miraclesofmind.tv. And today we have our very special guest who is Sandi Graves. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to meet you, Dee Dee.
Good. Listen, a little bit about Sandi Graves. Sandi's a certified hypnotist and owner and director for the Arizona Family Hypnosis Center, located in Phoenix, Arizona. She's also the co-creator of 3 online hypnosis businesses and a highly successful weight loss process and training program. She brings enthusiasm, proficiency, and dedication to the field of hypnosis that is rarely seen. Her passion and energetic style will ignite your desire to become the best you can be, and her workshops are always full of interactive demonstrations and useful information that people can utilize immediately. So Sandi, how long have you been doing hypnosis and what first got you into it?
Well, I started hypnosis 8 years ago, got my training at the NGH. And what got me started in hypnosis is 26 years ago, I had my last child at home and my midwife was using hypnosis with me. I didn't know what hypnosis was, but I ended up having a 2-hour home birth that was uncomfortable but pain-free. So I knew at that point that I wanted to do hypnosis when I got to that place in my life that I wanted to start a career. So if you add the numbers up, there's a space in there between using hypnosis for my home birth and actually starting a business. So in that meantime, I was a stay-at-home mom and I was a musician. And when I decided to do hypnosis, I went into it full bore. I met up with Don Rice in Phoenix, Arizona. He mentored me. I trained with him. And from there, we started a number of businesses, of which one was the weight loss training that you referred to in the beginning. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your practice, because people are always curious. They always ask me, what do people come in for?
Yeah.
So what is it that people come in to see you for?
Yeah. Most people come in to me for weight loss. That's a really big, hot topic. And hypnosis is such an effective way for people to lose weight. And I have clients that I've seen for weight loss and they come back in later for something else and they just talk about this mystery, because I think there's a mysterious side to what we do as hypnotists, how they lost weight, but the miracle, the wonder of them being able to accomplish something that they want. But so I see a lot of weight loss clients and I specialize working with children. I love working with children. And I get a number of referrals from a couple of physicians, and pain management actually is...
Well,
yes.
Your first experience was with pain management.
There you go. I never put that together, but yeah. So I saw firsthand how effective that hypnosis can be for that. But
so tell us about children, because their little minds are so malleable, and honestly, with a child, I've noticed it's so fast.
Yes.
And you do not have to work as hard as you do with adults, because adults are, even though they can have these amazing results, they have the Debbie Dowder inside.
Yes.
So tell us, what have you been able to help children with?
Oh, I mean, kids are so open. They're
beautiful.
And they're so close to that place where they can take in suggestion. They're so suggestible. But working with kids, especially like with hyperactivity or ADD, a lot of hypnotists might be a little wary of working with kids like that, but I love working with kids like that. So they go in and out of hypnosis really fast, and they can go in and out frequently during a session.
Right.
So for us, when I work with kids, one of the interesting, I think it's a tool I use, is when they come up out of hypnosis, it might be like 4 minutes after I've started working with them, and I'll invite them to wake up. If they're in a chair, I might twirl them in the chair for a little bit. We'll just kind of talk about normal things, and or we'll go stand in the corner or on one wall, and the kid's on another wall, and we'll talk about consciously what's going on, and we'll stand on our heads. So we'll look at it from a different point of view. you know?
Wow.
So you get
You really get down to work with those kids standing on your head.
Yeah, maybe I have a little bit of ADD myself. I don't know, but so we'll look at things from a different perspective.
Whatever works.
And whatever works. And so we'll do a little bit of play, and we'll talk about the thing, and we'll go right back into hypnosis, probably in a different place in the room, and pick up where we left off. And so kids are just amazing to work with.
So what have you seen that has been a miraculous transformation with a child?
Oh, let's see. What comes to mind? This is really interesting. We were talking a little bit about past life regression a little bit ago. Dee Dee and I were sharing a little bit about past life regression. I had he was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and he wasn't eating. I get a lot of kids that have this issue with eating.
Yeah,
it tastes weird, it feels weird. Yeah, picky eaters. Yeah. And we were lying on the floor doing a session. He's laying down on a carpet, and we did this technique where you go down a hallway, and there are doors on each side, and each door has a number above it, which represents the age of that person at that time and an event that's going on behind that door. And I'll always set up this door 0 that's at the end of the hall, and that's just very quickly I'll say something about that's the door to who you were before you are today.
Which is very general.
Very general.
Right.
And during this session, he's lying on the floor, and all of a sudden he says, I want to go to door 0. So I mentioned it very briefly, minutes before. He wants to go to door 0. He opens the door, he walks through, and he's in this other time frame, and he's lying down. His memory was lying down, being strapped down. He was being punished, and he wasn't allowed any food. And the food that he was getting was soiled and rotten, and they were forcing it down him. And we just worked our way through that and brought him out of hypnosis. And it's interesting because your show is about miracles, right?
Right.
And sometimes in hypnosis, they'll connect the problem during this session, and you as a therapist, you're not leading them to that.
You're not intentionally doing it. It's just somehow the mind just goes click.
It goes where it needs to go, and that's the beauty of hypnosis. But he comes out of the session, and his mom called me 2 days later, and she's like, I don't know what it is that you did in that session, but he's eating all this food. So part of that process when he was in this previous life was working through that and accepting himself, accepting what was going on, some forgiveness about the people who were mistreating him or punishing him. And he made those connections. I mean, that's amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing. And I always ask hypnotists, do you really think it was a past life? And they usually say the same thing. It's like, what does it matter? Whether his unconscious made up the storyline, or whether it was really a past life. The point is, he eats now.
Yes.
Bottom line.
And that's what you came in there for.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yes.
So what about kids for sports performance enhancement? Because I know the way parents are. They bring their kid in because they want their child to be the best baseball player, the best.
Yeah,
so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually work with a lot of kids, young ladies that are in the tumbling, gym, cheerleading, competitive realm. And you're right, it's the parents sometimes want more for the child than the child wants for themselves. So those are probably the most challenging situations to work with, but part of that sports enhancement with kids is really getting them in the moment of going through that action, having that performance work its way through like it is. We had a young lady who was some kind of biking, going around on the bikes real fast. Don't know much about the sport.
Is that when they go around in a circle?
It has hills and things like that. But one of the techniques that Dawn and I used was having her imagine she had wings on the back of her. So you're in this session guiding this child through their sport and giving them that uplifting, because one of her problems was getting over these humps and hills and staying balanced on her bike, and having this session where she's got these wings that are keeping her just at the right place.
And guess what?
Yeah, and it worked.
Kids
she was number one.
Because they follow their imagination.
Yes.
And their body follows their mind.
Exactly. Yep.
So
it starts with that imagination, and your body just follows right along. Yep, you got it.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. So anything else you've seen in all your years working as a hypnotist that's completely astounded you?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a story about a guy that I think of a lot. A physician referred him to me. He had some pain. It was actually some phantom pain that he had post-op in his abdomen, and it was creating so much pain that he could not get out of the house. He could not do anything. They had done all they could for him, and a physician sent him to me, which is interesting. We were talking too about how sometimes we're the last place that someone comes for help.
Yeah.
But
last
it's
ditch attempt.
so powerful. Boy, we get the hardest ones, right? Which pain is really challenging because you've got somebody that's been uncomfortable for a long time and has run out of options. Working with the phantom pain, and I don't quite remember what we did. Another twist to this case was that he couldn't hear.
In one ear or both?
Both ears. We're hypnotists. We use words to talk.
He couldn't hear at all?
He can't hear me. So what we did is we created something, I called it the dance. We're going to learn this dance together, how to communicate. And what we ended up doing was he could feel vibrations, he could read lips, and so during this session, I would put my arm on his thigh, and I would kind of put my face close like this, and he could hear the vibration of my voice as I was talking.
Right.
And so as we worked our way through that dance, that was how we danced the session.
That's really good.
Yes. You just have to be creative. We're a creative bunch of folks here.
We have to be.
Yes.
Every client is as unique as a snowflake.
Yes. But one of his concerns was that he was really missing out on life. His wife would come to the sessions, and she would just say, he can't go anywhere with me. He just has to stay at home. He's in so much pain. And I worked with him a couple of times, and like I said, he couldn't hear. So what I did was I wrote out hypnosis sessions for him with pictures, with a graphic. So he would go home to do his self-hypnosis. Instead of listening to my audio recordings, he would read his paper and go into hypnosis reading it. But 2 weeks later, he came into the office, and he gave me this huge hug, and he just starts crying. And I'm like, oh no, what happened, right? But they were tears of joy. And he said that he had gone to the grocery store with his wife. Like a little thing like that, to bring so much joy to help in their relationship as a couple, so that they could go out and do things now, but to be comfortable enough that he could go out and start living life. And that he had the power, but he had the power too, because part of our responsibility is, and for the public, it's not that you have to keep coming in to do this hypnosis with us, that healing takes place within that person. And as a hypnotist, we give them tools to be able to recreate that place, that you know, right?
So they're not dependent on us.
Exactly.
They come in, they get their healing for whatever it is they come in with. Later on, if they have other issues, they come back in a couple of sessions. It's
Right. And so he could continue this cycle and use those tools.
So he became virtually pain-free.
I don't know.
Well, he was going to the grocery market.
Yeah, he's going to the grocery market. Let me just think. So I usually use like a scale from 0 to 10, like a physician, right? Someone comes in, they're a 10. You know, to them, what's the comfortable level for them? So, you know, is a 7 where they want? But I think his was a 3. So you go from a 10 to a 3. So,
big time.
You know, that's all subjective. And so, you know, just being mindful of that. And that's huge. That's a miracle to that person.
That is a miracle. And the even bigger miracle is that you worked with a deaf person.
Exactly. So, yep, very cool.
So tell us a little bit about other miracles you've seen.
Those kids, all kinds of miracles with the kids, you know.
Yeah.
Dawn Rice.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about chronic disease? Let's talk about Dawn.
Yes, let's do that. So I was a partner with Don Rice, and this is 2016. In April, Don transitioned to his next place of being. So he's still here. Yeah, he's right here in this interview, right?
Hi, Don.
Yeah.
He's such an adorable man. We interviewed him last
year.
Yeah. He's just a sweetheart.
Yeah. And when you see that video, he was pretty ill even then. So
and I didn't know.
Yeah, he was ill, and we kept that pretty quiet. But our belief was and still is that we have so much to offer, have so much experience, Dawn and I, so many great techniques and tools to use, and it really was so important, even though he was ill, to come out here to do what it took to come out. We're at a educational convention, and to share, to let people have access to some of those tools, and that's so important. And that's what you're doing here, Dee Dee. You're a miracle. Oh. You are interviewing the world's top hypnotists, and she brings them in and she does these interviews, and they get to share their techniques, their tools, their successes. Yeah. And you're putting that out there for others to learn from, to get inspired by, to motivate them. And
hypnosis truly is so unbelievably powerful. Even I can't believe the miracles sometimes. I had a hard time when I first, and we'll talk more about Dawn, when I first heard a hypnotist talk about, getting rid of a tumor in a weekend. You know, I was like, what? He goes, well, I have it backed up by medical records. He goes, when she went to the doctor on Monday, and there was no tumor left, just radial scarring. The doctor couldn't believe it. And he personally took her records and drove them up to the university.
Yeah. Amazing.
So once I started hearing things like that, I was like, wow. But talk about Don, because he had something similar, right?
Yeah. So he had pancreatic cancer. So the numbers were against him during that. And so
he did transition. He had cancer.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So he had cancer 3 times previous. So 3 times out of 4, he used hypnosis to fix that problem, and he did it. And
he did it in the beginning when he was first 28 years old, because he shared that miracle. Because that's how he got into hypnosis.
Yes,
in 4 sessions, a brain tumor gone. Gone.
Yeah.
So that's what launched Dawn into hypnosis. But
exactly.
So you're saying it would come back every now and then in life?
In a different form, a different place.
And he'd manage it or get rid of it?
We would manage it. We would get rid of it. Yes.
And mind you, he was a much older gentleman at this time. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, when you're 80, maybe he's like, I don't want to. Who knows what his reasons were? I'm sure if he really wanted to, he could have got it. But at 80, how much fight do you have left in you?
Exactly, and that is a good point, because we all have some personal choice in that too, I think.
I believe we
is
do.
Where he was as well. Yeah. So 3 times out of 4, he beat it. And there was a point where he really felt he was at that point where he gave what he could give, and I think he was definitely at that point where he was done.
We all have a mission when we come down here, and maybe he felt like, okay, I fulfilled my mission.
Yes, that's exactly it.
He was a sweetheart. He would go into cancer wards with children, and they'd call him the hypnosis man. The hypnosis man. Yes. He brought a lot of miracles and joy into people's life, being the hypnosis man.
Yes. Which is what you're doing too, Dee Dee. You have these interviews. You are influencing.
Not about me. We're talking about you. So, what would you tell people about the power of the mind? I mean, you've seen so many things. And how long did you say you've been doing this?
8 years.
And 8 years? Mm-hmm. I mean, in 8 years, you've seen these miracles. Sometimes I interview people who've been doing this 40 years.
Oh, I bet they have.
Can you imagine? What it'll be like in 40 years from now?
Exactly.
So what do you believe? Do you believe there's any limitations to the power of the mind?
No, not at all. I mean, science has backed it up, the power of your mind and hypnosis. I mean, there's studies that show the power of the mind to create a feeling, a thought, and that your body, your physical body, from your mind's thought process, that it stimulates a physical change in the body, and stimulating that physical change is going to make an effect in that body. And I mean, pain is just such an obvious example of that you can
Yeah.
use these different techniques for pain to distract from it, to disassociate from it. That's all using your imagination.
And it goes
to
away,
distort
by the way,
it.
yeah.
They're really simple techniques, and people think there's this mystery or unknown about hypnosis, but it can be really as simple as that. Take an idea, pain, what does it look like? You know, pretend, imagine, give it a color. Well, it's red. Well, let's change it to a different color. You know, let's distort it. Let's move it from red to whatever they come up with, yellow. Okay, take that yellow. Now let's dissolve it somewhere. Let's move it around the
Right.
body and let it shift and move.
Yeah,
and it
sometimes
does. If you could just taking that thought.
Baby finger. Do you put pain into the baby finger? I've heard of hypnotists
I have
doing
not
that.
done that, no.
Some hypnotists will take the pain and move it into the baby finger.
Oh,
or
okay.
something.
Okay.
There's so many ways
So
to
many
do
ways,
it.
so many
But,
ways.
you know, when a person only has one alternative, which is drugs,
Yeah.
and they're suffering and they can't take any more drugs, and you come along and you're like, whew, here's what
Wait a
we're going
minute,
to do.
wait a
We're going to
minute.
take it from
Yeah.
a 10 down to a 7,
Yes.
6, 5, 4, 3.
Yes.
That in itself is a miracle.
Yes, exactly. Yes. A 10 down to a 3, you bet. That changes your life. That gives you life.
So tell us about hope, because I know for you it's really important
Yeah.
that you give your clients a sense of hope, a hopeful future.
Hope. Yes.
Tell me about it.
Yes. And they come to you for hope. I mean, if that's the one thing that they're coming to you with is hope, even though maybe some people aren't quite sure about hypnosis, if it's going to work or not. But you know what? In the back of their mind, there's hope. There's this little spark. I hope this works. And we tend to get people, this is their last place that they've come to. In the back of their mind, there's that little spark. I hope, right? And they come into your office, and we start expanding that hope little by little. And it could be by sharing the clients we've had before that you've had success with. You're giving them hope, like, okay, I can do this. This is a good place for me, a safe place for me. And yeah, we give people hope. So
And I think that's how the miracles are created, because they open up their mind to the belief.
yeah,
And I always consider hypnosis as a place that when in that hypnotic trance, it suspends all your beliefs.
yes, that's a
And-
good way to put that.
And when you make the change in that area, you just bring the new belief on up.
Exactly. So that little
Right.
spark can just start opening up used in that little place. That's a good way to put that. I like
That's
that
right.
analogy. Yes.
So you have an online site where you offer tons and tons of different hypnosis products for people.
Yes.
Because I know everybody can't make it into the office locally,
Yes.
and there are some people watching this program in countries like India where
Yes.
you know they couldn't afford to
Right.
do a Skype session or something like
Right.
that. So tell us about some of your products and even the feedback you've gotten
Right,
from them.
right. So that is in the process of being shifted over into another area. So I was in business with Dawn, and we did have 3 online sites that we had. Right now it's getting shifted over to a new site, and it is called Z Motivate, the letter Z motivate.com. And I'm going to be putting audio recordings up there there's probably going to be starting off about 45 audio recordings for all kinds of issues. And you're right, so somebody that can't come into a session, can't afford that, can't coordinate with the Skype thing, they can just go download it and listen to it right away. So you want to start a weight loss program, you can download these 4 sessions, and it's pretty reasonable.
Yes,
It's
they
all
are
under
reasonable.
$40. You can get 4 audio recordings and listen to them on your phone, your tablet, going
And
to
the
sleep.
thing is, they're for
all
life.
Of that.
Like you
And they're
have
for
them-
life.
You
Yes.
listen to them over
Yeah,
and over and over
yes,
again. So
yes.
it's a product that
Yes.
keeps on going.
Yes. Yeah.
So basically for everything. So what's some of the feedback
Everything.
you've gotten from people around the world? that
Well,
use these
they buy
products?
one, and then they want to buy another one, and they want to buy another one. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's good on my end, but it's a
It just shows you-
testament
It just shows you, yeah.
to the effectiveness of
Right.
hypnosis. It worked for stop smoking. You know what? I want to lose a few pounds. I want to lose 100 pounds.
Right.
And they're going to listen to this audio recording for that. And it's so easy to do, so wonderful that we have that technology available to us online
Excellent,
like that. So yeah, Z Motivate, and that's the place to be.
So if you could leave our audience with one thing that you believe is most important for them to know about the power of their minds,
Mm-hmm.
what would that be?
Start
Start.
Just
okay.
start. It's really
Another
simple.
hypnotist said that too. He said,
Yes.
take action.
Take action. Exactly. Don't sit and wait for something to happen. Do something. It's so easy to go online and have access to that. You can go on YouTube. You can watch more of her videos, all that stuff. I mean, just start. Just take a step.
And
Yeah,
after
just
that,
take a
when they
step.
take that step, what then? What about this? How
It starts
powerful is
happening.
this?
I mean, that's all.
That's it, okay.
You take a step. It's that little spark. You just took a step. You just like grew it into something a little bigger. Take that next. It's even bigger still.
Take the next step.
Exactly.
Then the next step leads into a next step and a next step.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Well, thank you for being
You're welcome.
here today.
Thank you for having me.